From hot seat to hero in just a span of 5 days, Kevin Keatts is now here to stay at NC State. How do you like him now?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Wednesday. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, as I mentioned there, we're going to be talking about Kevin Keatts because obviously the situation very, very, very different than it was just 7 days ago. And
absolutely,
we spent the first 2 days of this week reminiscing on the most memorable moment in NC State basketball history for what has been a very long time. We waited 37 long years to win something again in men's basketball. Now I want to transition this conversation into where we all stand on Keatts now. We spent multiple shows of ours talking about where things stood, where things should be, what to expect, how we got here. And then in just 5 days last week, all of that got completely wiped out with the tournament run of a lifetime. So my wheels began spinning about having this conversation. And then lo and behold, one of our listeners dropped a very similar comment into our YouTube comments. So I figured today should be the day. We're going to go ahead and have this conversation. So inspired by one of our listeners, I wanted to give it the shine that it deserves because I think it's an excellent question and one that is extremely pressing at the moment. So here we go. Let's get into this. This comes from D Hall 9016. Not to get too far ahead, but after the dust of this amazing feat settles, I'm sure the answer may be somewhat dependent on what happens in the big dance. What is your feeling now on Keatts and his future? I know he earned himself a 2-year extension with the ACC Tournament win, which is well-deserved. But do you think the fan base will give him more or less slack come next year if, say, we are still middle of the ACC? Lots of thought experiments here since the fan base has been so divided on him. Yeah, fantastic question. Kenton, I'll let you kick this one off here first. What are your thoughts on Keatts and his immediate future now?
Well, folks, number one, a lot of people believe you can either have affirmation time or information time. But I think we can do both today, right? Affirmation, make you feel good. Information, what you need to hear. So first thing first, affirmation. For all the people who are Keatts supporters and wanted Keatts to come back regardless, congratulations. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your victory lap. But with that being said, the fan base as a whole, we should all be feeling good vibes and saying Keatts has some time here. Because, if we hadn't won anything in 32 years, and Keatts gets us the first one, I would at least think that he has through, I don't know, maybe the next 4 to 5 years as part of, again, just the affirmations of this thing. We all feel good. It's something I've been working on here. We have old buyout math versus new buyout math. So what does that mean, right? I've got the amount of money on the far left-hand side, if you're watching, and times the years. And that's what you're looking at, right? The old buyout math, 2.7 times 4 years left, 10.8 million. New buyout math, based on what we just happened here, 3.1 at 6 years. You're up to nearly $20 million, 18.6. That's a 72% increase in that buyout. I'm sorry to tell you, by both the affirmation and information to this thing, it doesn't matter how you feel about Keatts. He's going to be around for a while. I'm a big believer. If there's something that's inevitable, if there's something that you cannot stop, you might as well learn to enjoy. And this is a moment with Keatts. You might as well learn to enjoy Kevin Keatts while he's here. He's coming back. He's going to be here for a while. Enjoy it. Let the good times roll. If we continue to miss on the really big prospects and we continue to be perennially bubble, he's going to be here.
I want to make one thing abundantly clear. I'm really happy for Kevin Keatts. He deserves a championship, and he went and got it. He
Absolutely.
deserves all the praise from the fan base that he's gotten the last couple days. He knows what the fan base had been saying for the last 2, 3, 4, 5+ years. He knows that. Obviously, many of you might have been blocked by Kevin Keatts on Twitter. You know that he knows. You know that he knows because he's seen it, okay?
Yeah.
And to watch Keatts and this basketball team achieve that when no one thought that they could do it last week. No one thought that they could do that. Some folks might think that they did. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if anyone truly, probably outside of Keatts and the staff and the players, thought they could do that. They really did pull off what is seemingly impossible. Yeah. And so I am so proud of him and this team for accomplishing that. I think Keatts deserves to run up the score on this fan base. I'm sure he has receipts. I don't think he'll pull them out because I don't think he's that kind of guy. But if he wanted to, I say green light. Let it rip, man. You have earned it. You delivered the first major sports trophy here at NC State in over 32 years. You're a hero at NC State now. So he's been through a lot here. He has been through a lot in terms of roster turnover, the NCAA sanction cloud that he inherited when he got here. He's dealt with a lot. And the on-court success obviously has not been there. Like we've said multiple times, Kent and I have been very critical of him. We were very honest about where everything stood. We didn't think that he might survive last week's tournament when that thing was getting underway, especially trailing Louisville at half. It seemed like we were coming toward the end of an era. And then the biggest 180 in the history of NC State 180s took place in front of our eyes. And now he is here to stay. He earned that 2-year extension. He earned this championship, and he has earned the respect of this fan base. And so where I think this really needs to pivot here is the school administration, the coaching staff, and the fan base needs to see this as an opportunity. Let this championship turn immediately into momentum going into next year. And what I mean by this, I look directly at football. Same kind of thing. You thought the season was crumbling apart, 5-game win streak. All of a sudden, NIL is booming for football. We have the best offseason you could possibly imagine, and we have championship aspirations in football as well. We kind of skipped a couple steps, and we already got the championship in basketball. But the same efforts need to be done to take it up a notch. This championship run needs to be ensured that it's not a one-off. Use this to go get more championships. Use this on the recruiting trail. Use this in NIL efforts. Use this in whatever you need to do to keep this going. NC State being relevant again in basketball literally just fell out of the sky. And it needs to be taken advantage of while we currently have it. So I am happy for Keatts. I'm happy for the coaching staff. I'm thrilled for the players, this basketball program. They've been through a lot. They made it out the storm. They won a trophy, and he is here to stay. So we all need to rally around this. All of us, every single one of us needs to rally around this and ensure that we are fighting to go get more championships, because that also can be done.
First round exit, anything beyond a first round exit to me doesn't kill this momentum at all. Like that's just me being very realistic and honest, right? If this team was to go all the way to the Elite Eight and lose to Houston, who would say like, oh, we knew it. He's not the goods. He can't get it done.
Yeah.
If this team was to go all the way to the national championship and lose, who would say like, oh, why not us? That's why not us. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be that nobody would be thinking that way. And so to me, I think he submitted his place. And we talk about this often, but how different is the perception of Debbie Yao now?
Yeah.
Not only did she bring in the winningest football coach in program history, she also brought in the basketball coach that broke the drought.
Yep.
I'm just saying, Kay ain't the only one. We might have to figure out what's going on in that Yao bloodline and keep him here forever. Because I'm just saying that she did great things for the program that were exacerbated by this championship run. So, this championship run not only changes the opinion on Keatts some, but for people who, and I know most of the Wolfpack fan, Debbie Yao is beloved. I know that. But for those of you who she's not beloved with, I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Take some time. Think it over.
Some of you may agree. Some of you may disagree. Whatever happens to March Madness at this point, it kind of just feels like a bonus because the high that comes with winning the ACC title, it will not be diminished by losing to Texas Tech on Thursday. Will it sting? Yeah, of course. You want to win in March Madness because that's something that Kevin hasn't done yet. We would love to see him experience success in the tournament, but it just really feels like the rest is a bonus. And the team does not feel this way. They're ready to go. They want more than just an ACC title because, again, they feel dangerous. They feel like they can play with anyone in the country right now. And so that part is super exciting. But the difference in feeling and the buzz is instantly back. We talked about apathy for weeks on end through this regular season. That has been snapped away, poof, gone, evaporated in just a matter of 5 days. And so
somebody bought the Infinity Gauntlet of basketball out. 5 stones, 5 wins.
Boom. Just like that. And so Keatts on Twitter repping his new ice cream merch and asking which profile picture he could go with. I want more of that. I want Killer Kev on my timeline every day. He has earned this. I'm excited at the prospects of his future here at NC State. He's got a title. Let's see how many more of them he can get here.
They said, hey, we did a great thing here, but we ain't done yet. I want you to think about that. The team said I believe they said we got 2 more wins when it was 3 games ago. And Coach Keatts said, I'll let them figure that out later. All we're worried about is the game in front of us. That's a team. That's, like you said, Grayson, team with nothing to lose, locked in on 1 game at a time. That is a dangerous team. They playing with the church's money. That's a dangerous team. That's a dangerous team.
It's like at Thanksgiving when you and your cousins go on a little walk and you come back for seconds. That's how the basketball team feels right now. They're coming back for more. They want another plate of that. So they're not done yet. They got more to play for, and it starts Thursday night against Texas Tech.
I couldn't agree more, man. I couldn't agree more.
Coming up next, we're getting into a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of something after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first sponsor of the day is Bettor Together. Bettor Together is the first cooperative daily fantasy sports application. It offers a familiar experience for existing daily fantasy sports players, but with a social twist. You can play with a friend or teammate. So if you're worried about your brackets getting busted, or maybe you're tired of the same old daily fantasy sports grind, introducing Bettor Together, the first cooperative daily fantasy sports platform, where teamwork triumphs talent and you can play with your friends and not against them. You can just pick more or less on real-time player stats, strategize with your partner to boost your odds, and climb the leaderboard together. So grab a friend and join the social daily fantasy sports movement. Download Bettor Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for a chance to win your share of over $1,000 in cash prizes. Remember the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, because winning alone is fun, but it's better together. Sponsor of the day is eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy, but it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, and LED headlights, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. That's because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Middle portion of our Wednesday show here. Now time for a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of something. 3 topics. We're going to tell you exactly where we stand on them. First one here. With Coach Keatts winning this ACC title in basketball, do you think this might put just a little bit more pressure on Dave Doeren and this upcoming football season? Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Here's the thing, and I know people are going to disagree with me here. Me personally, I want it to be a whole lot of something. I know the reality is a whole lot of nothing. There's going to be less pressure on Dave to win it, despite the fact that I think it should ratchet up the pressure, because regardless of what happens in the NCAA tournament, you're going to say, cool, whatever. But even going into next year for football, you kind of have a couple things that are baked in that I don't think people are realizing, which, I don't agree with them, but people will look at them and be like, it's okay because of that reason, right? I know that that's going to be, something that could be an impediment and all that, but I think that people, because of the championship from Keatts, are going to give more grace for, like, there's less of that pressure and that bottleneck of, like, we just want something. We just need something. We're just chomping at the bit. You carry into this season 3 straight wins over the Dirty Foot Club and an ACC championship that came with beating the Dirty Foot Club. I think that people are going to be a little more relaxed than we think in terms of, like, you got to get it done. Although, Grayson, you and I have talked about this, that spike year is necessary. That spike year needs to truly be here, and I think that it needs to be this year. But I think that Coach Keatts' championship, although I don't think it'll have a major effect on how fans feel about Doran potentially winning the championship, if anything, I think it lowered the temperature more than anything else.
So, yeah, we actually went pretty similar directions on this. I'm going a whole lot of nothing just because this is a fantastic accomplishment, one that we're going to talk about for a very, very long time for men's basketball. But I don't think that really should weigh at all on this upcoming football season. This upcoming football season has been anticipated already for the last 4 months. And so that kind of already is what it is. We're getting ready for that before any of this ever took place. So I think that already has enough hype basically baked into it, like you had already mentioned. And so this doesn't really change anything. But that last part you said about the spike year, that part is true. We still need to see Coach Doran reach that level higher that he just quite hasn't gotten to yet. And so we're certainly expecting this to be the year. This is supposed to be the team. This is supposed to be the schedule. This should be that spike year that we've been waiting on for football, but I don't think one really influences the other here. We're just amped up for the both of them right now.
Exactly.
Second one here. I've seen a lot of commentary about NC State coming into this March Madness tournament potentially out of gas because of this run that they just went on, 5 wins in 5 days. Do you feel there's any truth to this? Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
I'm going to say a whole lot of nothing for this reason. After those 5 games, they had more rest than they had between any of those games in spades, right? And also, this is not a team that plays particularly exceedingly better when they've had rest. Like, that's just the reality of what we're looking at here. So I'm going to say a whole lot of nothing. I think that this team, they're going to be fine. They've got young legs. They've got guys who can get it done. And they've shown us that they can get it done at a high level, for multiple days back-to-back. So, and in the NCAA tournament, you're not going to be seeing games on back-to-back days in a similar fashion that you would in the ACC tournament. So I'm going to say a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, I agree. Whole lot of nothing. Since Saturday night, I'd have to imagine they've had plenty of rest. I know they did have a practice on Monday. They flew out today on Tuesday. And, of course, getting there probably Tuesday evening, they'll have probably several walkthroughs between Wednesday and then when they do tip off Thursday night. They have plenty of rest. Last week was last week. This is a brand new week. They're going to be ready to go. They're hungry, like I just said. They're hungry all over again. So them playing 5 games in 5 days, it does not weigh into this week at all. And not to mention 5 games in 5 days last week, you'd only have to play 2 games in 3 days potentially this weekend. So what's 2 games in 3 days compared to 5 games in 5 days? They should be plenty rested, plenty hungry, and they're going to be ready to go when they see Texas Tech on Thursday night. Last one here. Baseball, struggling on the mound right now. Last week alone, the baseball team gave up an average of 12 runs a game over 4 games. They went 0-4 last week. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something. We're into the part of the season where we should have – you and I talked about this ad nauseum coming in, how we're working with young guys and we're kind of just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Well, damn it, it's time to eat. The pasta needs to be sticking. It needs to be al dente, and we're not quite there yet. We're getting it wrong here. 12 runs a game is insane. I often joke with Grayson, hey, they're going to need you to lace them up out there, see if you got some eligibility left. They might really need to see if you got some eligibility left, Grayson, because it can't be where at the time of recording this, the Wolfpack are playing a game today. That game started. with a first inning grand slam. Whole lot of something. We got to get this pitching under control and in a hurry.
Yeah, they actually are currently winning 8-5 in the bottom of the 7th against Coastal Carolina. So hopefully this does result in a win, fingers crossed. But last week was not a good week. You get your doors blown off against UNCG. You go down to Georgia Tech and get swept in 3 games. It was a very poor week pitching for the NC State Wolfpack. And talked about Tuesday's loss to UNCG. That kind of is what it is. Midweek games a lot of times result in chaos for Division I baseball. I'll tell you about that another time. But to go down for an ACC series against Georgia Tech and drop all 3 of those, that is where this becomes an issue. And it's not a panic button issue, as we are still only in mid-March, very early in the ACC season. But there needs to be signs of progress, of course, because once you start seeing teams like a Duke this weekend, who has been one of the more impressive teams in the ACC, if you can't find a way to beat Georgia Tech, you're not really liking your chances when Duke comes to town. So it does need to be sorted out much sooner than later. And then speaking of baseball, we're going to round out our Wednesday show talking more in depth about this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our third sponsor of the day is Nissan. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week we're picking one team that stands out, a team that has pushed it further than the rest. Just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys are able to take it to the next level. Your NC State Wolfpack are very obviously this week's Nissan Rogue. This team absolutely stunned us all with a powerful performance in last week's ACC tournament and punched their ticket to the big dance. They say win life, go Rogue, and that is exactly what the Wolfpack did just last week. So take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Last couple minutes here on Wednesday, as I mentioned, getting a little bit more in-depth about the struggles that the Pac-9 baseball team is facing right now. Already told you, swept last weekend down in Georgia Tech. They played a close first game, just didn't quite have the offense. Game 2, they had the offense, but the bullpen gave it away late. And Game 3 just got completely blown out of the water. 15-5 on Sunday, completing the 3-game sweep in favor of the Yellow Jackets. All in all, 0-4 week last week. I told you they were giving up an average of at least 12 runs a game. Very bad look. They fell out of many of the college baseball rankings. I know there's like 8 different publications, but I believe they fell out of at least 7 of them, if not maybe all of them. And I wouldn't say they're quite in a free fall right now, but we're kind of back to wondering exactly what this team is. And if you remember just about a month ago, coming into this season, the narrative was, well, they have more pitching depth than they've seen in quite some time. And you might remember me saying, I need to see it first. I need to see exactly what kind of depth we're working with first, because I knew there are a lot of young freshman arms. There are a couple of transfer arms that you would also be relying on. And I needed to see how they all came together before I gave that stamp of approval. Well, here we are a month in, and that is basically the Achilles heel currently of this team. I told you it was going to be a slow burn. I still think that is the case. I think they will continue to progress, but I think for these next couple of weeks and weekends, they're going to have to really rely on the offense to pull them out of the mud hole here. They're going to have to rely on offense to win some slugfests. And so you're going to be looking to guys like Jacob Kozart and Alec Makarevich and Garrett Pennington. You need Eli Serrano to get hot. Freshman catcher Alex Sosa has returned from mono. He missed like 3 to 4 weeks. That's a big piece to get back in the lineup. And so the offense is really going to have to get going, especially, I already told you, Duke comes to town this weekend. Duke has one of the better pitching staffs in all of the ACC, and Duke went out to Winston-Salem and shocked at the time the #1 team in the country in Wake Forest. So Duke is bringing the fight with them to Raleigh, and NC State needs to find a way to counter that with some explosive offense.
Yeah, and I'm 1,000% on board for, at the end of the day, the offense is going to have to carry it. You cannot allow 12 runs per game, period. I don't care how hot your bats are. Your bats could be hotter than fish grease in the middle of July. You still are going to need to get some outs at some point in time. And like we talked about, it is not defensive. And has the defense been perfect? No, right? However, it has not been bad enough to justify like pitchers doing all they can. Defense has to help them out. It hasn't been that type of situation. It's just been guys getting rocked and took yard time after time after time again. And it's like, at some point in time, we've got to figure this thing out. It's tough to even put into words how indescribably bad allowing 12 runs a game is. It really is. And so the offense, even through those, games, has been fine. I don't think the offense has been a problem at all. I haven't seen too many games where I'm like, man, our bats just are dead as a doorknob right now, or they went dead at the wrong time. However, you can't expect for every single inning you to be putting up, 2-3 runs. It's just not happening.
The concept in college baseball on the importance of some series, they often say, win at home, make every effort to win your home ball games, and just don't get swept on the road. Obviously, they did get swept at Georgia Tech, but it hurts even worse when you are in a ball game late. You have a lead even late, and that is the way you crumble and let those games slip. It's one thing, like the Sunday game, for example. If Georgia Tech just bludgeons you out the gate, they put up 15 on you, sometimes you tip your hat, and that's what it is for the day. But when you have a 6-3 lead in the 7th or a 7-2 lead in the 8th, you cannot blow games like that. You cannot do it. That has bubble written all over it. And we know how that goes. We found out the hard way in 2022. Almost found out last year as well, but ended up making it in. So that will ultimately be the crux of how this season's going to go. And you are still relying on a lot of freshman arms. I told you a couple weeks ago I'd be interested to see what the fluctuation of the bullpen is, if we are going to remain with the freshman arms or maybe cycle back into some of the veteran guys. No, they're sticking primarily with these young freshman arms and additionally some transfers like Van Dam and Hollis Fanning. So it seems like they have established who their primary contributors are. You just have to find a way to get them going and get them going quickly. That'll do it for us here on Wednesday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, and tell us what you think about Kevin Keatts sticking in Raleigh now for the foreseeable future. Tell us maybe how your opinion has changed 1 week later. Tell us what you think about that. Tell us what you think about March Madness coming up on Thursday. If you've maybe started to scout Texas Tech, I have a little bit. We'll be sharing that on Thursday's episode. And tell us what you think about the struggles currently of the NC State baseball team. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you have not already. The subscriber count, like I mentioned yesterday, is booming. We picked up another 15 alone just today. The support from Wolfpack Nation remains unparalleled. Yeah. Y'all are the absolute greatest, and we are very thankful for all of the support and viewership. Thank you so very much. We will see you all tomorrow. Until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.